Well, the shopping mall is practically a teenage rite of passage for American suburban kids, a place to hang out on the weekends. But the shopping mall may become a thing of the past. According to one estimate, 10% of the nation's 1,000 enclosed malls will fail in the next several years, and many are currently struggling with vacancy rates of 35 to 50%. To give us more insight as to what is happening to these American shopping meccas is Bruce Leonard, managing principal of Streetsense, a real estate company focused on retail and mixed-use properties. Bruce, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
Let me start by basically asking what is going on with the shopping mall, because it used to be the place to hang out, but I take it like everything else, it's suffering because of online shopping.
Yeah, there's essentially three major trends really that are affecting shopping malls and other retail product types in our nation. Essentially, leading up to the subprime, there was a lot of growth in the retail industry and bricks and mortar. And basically, the subprime gave the merchants really a chance to sort of set back and kind of look at where they were. And many feel now that they have far too many units in particularly second and third tier markets, and are pulling back as leases are coming due, and you're seeing that reflected in vacancy in malls. The second trend was there was a major demographic shift which coincided right around the subprime as well, where the boomers, who were the predominant shopping generation for the last 20 years, there was a transition towards the upcoming generations, X, Y, millennials. Their shopping patterns of the millennial generation is far different than the boomers, and the retailers today are trying to adapt to the new shopping patterns. And then finally, as you mentioned, the internet is definitely, since '08, having a dramatic impact on retail. Not so much in competition, which is occurring, but it's also changing the way retail is done. And the retailers are trying to adjust to that. So store sizes are becoming smaller, and that's obviously in real estate that becomes important, as malls don't really need to be as big as they used to.
Well,
and
I was going to ask you
tenants.
that. Do you think that the days of the mega mall, like the Mall of America, over?
I think actually what we're seeing two really predominant trends. We're seeing malls in A locations in major markets still doing the same great numbers they've always done. They're really strong and viable. What we're seeing is malls in second, third tier markets, and also B and C locations in markets. They're the ones that are really starting to struggle, because as the retailers are pulling back and contracting, they're targeting the weaker markets to pull their stores out of. So you're seeing this sort of trend exacerbating malls in those areas. The mega malls, yeah, probably less relevant unless they can adapt to a more immersive or engaging experience for the consumer.
So who gets hurt here? Not necessarily the retailers that are pulling out and doing something different, but basically the mall owners, right, developers.
Right. If I understood your question, yeah, there really hasn't been a significant mall built in this country since '06. I think the major mall developers saw the trends coming. They're quite sophisticated. The retail pattern, the mall, the real strength of the mall was the fact that it offered a convenient shopping venue for consumers and a lot of critical mass, and by that means a lot of stores. Well, the internet does that better now. You have even broader selection of stores internationally, and you have, a lot of convenience. You can shop from your home. So where is retail going? People are using retail now for an engaging, recreative experience, and what malls were, sort of that prototype doesn't fit. So what you see are malls modifying themselves to offer the consumer a more engaging experience.
Well, let me ask you something also. Movie theaters used to be a main anchor of malls, and there's competition now for people's entertainment dollars as well. And in years past, movie theaters have been hurt, and many of them closed. Is that one of the key elements here, that these anchor stores and movie theaters are suffering as well?
Certainly there's, the movie theater industry has always been somewhat volatile, but I think basically when a movie theater goes out of a mall, it's not as catastrophic to me as when the major department stores or anchors leave. Certainly it can have an impact, because the interesting thing about theaters is theaters drive food and entertainment. So that tends to be where the consumer's looking for the retail offerings right now. So certainly from that component, having a theater vacate a mall is significant and will impact its performance.
Okay, Bruce Leonard, managing principal of Streetsense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ahead, why the Canadians may be the only ones enjoying an ice-cold beer in Sochi. You're watching Arise Exchange.